Welcome back to Richard Hale. If you are new here, this is the channel where we break down military operations, weapons systems, and global conflicts with the depth and detail that actually matters. No filler, just the real story. And today we are getting into something that has fundamentally shifted Operation Epic Fury, the deployment of the A-10 Warthog against Iran. Before we dive in, I want to put something to you right now, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments. First question, do you believe the A-10 Warthog is still one of the most relevant attack aircraft in the United States arsenal today, or is it finally time for the military to retire it in favor of modern stealth platforms? We are going to cover exactly what this aircraft is capable of, and by the end, your answer might surprise you. Drop it below. I read every comment. Now let's get into this. Operation Epic Fury has already seen the United States unleash an unprecedented wave of aerial force against Iran's regime. The scale has been staggering, a relentless bombardment systematically dismantling Iran's capacity to fight back. But what has become clear is that the United States still has a great deal more in reserve. America has now deployed something Iran was desperately hoping it would never see above its territory, and it is hitting the regime so hard that it must feel like the foundations of power are collapsing beneath them. The A-10 Warthog has been officially unleashed into Operation Epic Fury, and it is ready to support every dimension of the mission. A great deal of what we know comes from a single post on X. On March 15th, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, published photographs to its official account alongside a caption that left no room for ambiguity. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, known worldwide by its legendary nickname, the Warthog, is actively being deployed against Iran. The CENTCOM statement read, U.S. Air Force A-10 Thunderbolt IIs receive fuel in flight while supporting Operation Epic Fury. The A-10 Thunderbolt II can loiter for hours, standing by and ready to execute a mission whenever needed. That phrase, loiter for hours, standing by and ready, is not a casual footnote. It is the cornerstone of what makes the Warthog uniquely dangerous in this conflict, and we are coming back to loitering throughout this entire breakdown. But first, those CENTCOM photographs revealed more than just refueling. They showed the full combat configuration of the Warthog deployed in Operation Epic Fury, and that weapons loadout told a very specific story. Army recognition highlighted what was visible. The most notable weapons carried on the aircraft were APKWS guided rockets, not standard unguided rockets. The APKWS, Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, was developed to give the U.S. a precision, low-cost means of engaging small and fast-moving targets, with drones being one of its primary use cases. Alongside those rockets, the Warthog was carrying AM-9LM Sidewinder air-to-air missiles and AGM-65 Maverick air-to-ground missiles. When you look at that combination on a single airframe, the picture is clear. This is not a narrow-purpose mission. This is flexibility in flight, a versatile combat profile allowing the Warthog to engage threats across multiple domains without returning to base for a different weapons configuration. The Warthog revealed by CENTCOM has been stacked with enough firepower to handle a broad range of attack and defense scenarios in one sortie. It can destroy militia positions and military nodes on the ground. It can intercept the drones Iran has deployed in the Strait of Hormuz. It can take out the fast attack boats Iran has been using to threaten shipping in those waterways. The range of potential missions for this aircraft in the current theater is genuinely remarkable. All of that versatility is amplified by the loitering capability. To understand why this matters in Operation Epic Fury, hold the Warthog up against the fighter jets the U.S. has been using throughout the campaign. Fighter jets are speed machines. Their combat philosophy against ground targets is built around one principle: get in fast, strike, and get out before anything is brought to bear against you. Flying low and fast is inherently dangerous. The aircraft's velocity makes maneuvering at low altitude extremely unforgiving, and it increases exposure to whatever air defenses remain active below. The Warthog operates on a different philosophy. Its slower speed is not a weakness. It is a deliberate feature that gives pilots extraordinary control at low altitude. The Warthog stays airborne for hours, circling a target area while awaiting orders. When those orders come, it drops down, strikes with precision, and returns to its holding pattern, assuming ordnance remains, ready and waiting for the next assignment. That cycle repeats multiple times in a single sortie. Not one strike and a return to base, a persistent presence in the sky that responds to new targets as they emerge in real time. This model has been made possible by the extraordinary success the U.S. and Israel have had in dismantling Iran's air defense network. The Israel Defense Forces claim to have destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense infrastructure within the opening days of the conflict. 80%. That means vast stretches of Iranian airspace are now effectively uncontested, zones where any aircraft, stealthy or not, can operate freely without surface-to-air missiles tracking its movement. Whatever remains of Iran's air defense network has been repositioned to protect the handful of remaining high-value targets, and even those defenses are not performing well. For the A-10, this is the ideal environment. Open skies, minimal threat, maximum freedom of action. Now let's go deeper into the aircraft itself, because the A-10 Warthog has capabilities that extend far beyond what most people realize. According to the U.S. Air Force, the A-10 Thunderbolt II holds a distinction unique in American aviation. It was the very first aircraft designed specifically to provide close air support to ground forces, not a secondary role added later. This was the reason the aircraft existed from its first design drawing. The Warthog was built to protect American soldiers by destroying the tanks, armored vehicles, and helicopters that threatened them in land battle. In the current phase of Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. has not yet formally committed ground troops to Iran, though reports have emerged of a Marine Expeditionary Unit of at least 2,200 Marines potentially arriving in the region within the coming days, which could change that picture. But even without boots on the ground, the Warthog is contributing in ways that stretch well beyond its original design parameters. The A-10 can operate under a ceiling as low as 1,000 feet while maintaining visibility of up to 1.5 miles. That low-altitude capability is rare and extremely valuable. It carries night vision imaging systems, allowing pilots to conduct operations in complete darkness. Pilots sit inside a shell of titanium armor, a literal titanium bathtub, that also protects the aircraft's critical flight control systems. The Warthog is built to absorb punishment. Direct strikes from armor-piercing rounds are survivable up to 23 millimeters of penetration depth, and if hydraulic damage knocks out primary flight controls, manual backup systems allow the pilot to land the aircraft safely regardless. On performance, 800 miles of combat range, a maximum speed of 420 miles per hour, a little over half the speed of sound. Not fast by modern standards, but in the environment now existing over Iran, raw speed is not the priority. Persistence is. And the Warthog is extraordinarily rich in that department. The weapon's capability is where things get truly impressive. Beyond the APKWS, Sidewinder, and Maverick systems, the Warthog is built around one of the most powerful aircraft cannons ever mounted on a combat aircraft, the 30mm GAU-8A 7-barrel Gatling gun. It fires depleted uranium rounds at a devastating rate, designed specifically to punch through the armor of Soviet-era main battle tanks. That is exactly where the aircraft earned its other nickname, the Tank Buster. Beyond the cannon, the A-10 carries up to 16,000 pounds of mixed ordnance, including Mk-82 and Mk-84 bombs, mine-dispensing munitions, flares, chaff, jamming pods, and incendiary cluster munitions. Configured for nearly any mission: precision strike, area suppression, electronic warfare, anti-armor, anti-drone, anti-ship. Iran currently holds approximately 2,675 main battle tanks and nearly 76,000 military vehicles, according to Global Firepower. The U.S. has not needed to target those yet, but the Warthog's credentials mean that if Iran mobilizes those assets, or if U.S. Marines set foot on Iranian soil, the A-10 is already in theater and fully prepared. Second question for today's, and I want this one in the comments too. If the United States eventually commits significant ground forces to Iran, do you think the A-10 Warthog would be the single most critical air support asset on that battlefield? Given what we have covered, capabilities, versatility, endurance, what is your honest take? Tell me below. Now, the specific ways the U.S. is deploying these aircraft, because the details are fascinating. The first use case might surprise you. The U.S. may be using A-10 Warthogs, known for shredding tanks, to protect American littoral combat ships in the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf. Documented evidence shows the U.S. has been preparing for this exact role. On February 9th, the War Zone reported that CENTCOM released photographs from an exercise showing a Warthog alongside the USS Santa Barbara, a littoral combat ship in the Persian Gulf, to validate the Warthog's ability to protect it during mine-clearing operations. That capability matters enormously given what Iran has been doing in the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 1/5 of all the world's seaborne oil and liquefied natural gas passes through that narrow corridor every day. Iran has been weaponizing it as leverage throughout this conflict. By March 10th and 11th, CNN was reporting, citing intelligence sources, that Iran had begun placing mines in the strait. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth later stated there was no confirmed evidence of this. Those accounts are in direct contradiction, and the truth almost certainly sits somewhere between them. Either way, the threat demands a response. Mine-clearing vessels must operate in those waters with persistent air protection. The Warthog's loitering capability means it maintains continuous overwatch for hours without relief. The instant a drone swarm launches, the instant fast attack boats appear, the instant an unmanned surface vessel loaded with explosives begins its run. The Warthog is already there, already weapons hot, already responding. The A-10's role is not purely defensive. The U.S. is almost certainly using these aircraft for offensive strikes. The AGM-65 Maverick missiles are central to this. Army recognition pointed out that the Maverick is not just an anti-armor weapon. It is a standoff precision strike missile capable of engaging a broad range of ground targets from considerable range. From a safe loitering altitude in uncontested airspace, a Warthog crew identifies and strikes air defense installations, fuel depots, logistics facilities, and command infrastructure, then returns to loitering and awaits the next target. On the naval side, the national interest argued in 2019, backed by a 2017 exercise, that Warthogs could prove devastating against Iran's naval forces. In that exercise off Florida, an A-10 simulated sustained attacks against dozens of boats in Choctawhatchee Bay. Iran's naval doctrine in the Strait of Hormuz centers on swarm tactics, overwhelming larger warships with masses of fast attack boats. Against that threat, the Warthog is arguably the most effective platform the U.S. has. It engages multiple targets rapidly, stays on station until the threat is fully neutralized, and does it at a cost that does not strain American logistics. And then there are the drones, perhaps the most strategically critical use of the Warthog right now. Iran is the originator of the Shahed drone, the same low-cost, propeller-driven, one-way attack drone Russia has been sending into Ukraine in massive numbers. Iran has been deploying these against U.S. assets and commercial shipping throughout the conflict, though the intensity has dropped sharply. Drone activity is reportedly down approximately 95% from the opening days, but the threat has not vanished. In just the first 6 days of the conflict, Iran launched over 2,000 Shahed drones, a number that tells you the industrial scale of what Iran has built. The challenge countering Shaheds has never been technical. American systems can destroy them. The problem has always been economic. A Shahed drone costs Iran between $20,000 and $50,000 to build, according to Time magazine. The precision missiles the U.S. has traditionally used to intercept aerial threats cost anywhere from several $100,000 to over $1 million each. The math is catastrophic. Every time the U.S. destroys a $30,000 drone with a $500,000 missile, Iran wins economically even while losing physically. If Iran sustains drone production and drains American missile stockpiles faster than they can be replenished, the drone campaign becomes a war of economic attrition, exactly the kind of fight Iran's strategic culture is comfortable with. The APKWS changes that calculation completely. As Forbes reported in August of 2025, the Falco, Fixed-Wing Air-Launched Counter-Unmanned Aerial Systems Ordnance, has been cleared for use on the A-10. The Warthog can now use APKWS-guided rockets as dedicated anti-drone weapons. The APKWS costs approximately $35,000 per unit. A Shahed costs between $20,000 and $50,000. The cost ratio is essentially 1-to-1. No more trading million-dollar missiles for $10,000 drones. Cost for cost, unit for unit, from a platform that carries significant numbers of these rockets and stays on station for hours. Warthogs with APKWS win against Shahed drones every single time, and they do it without draining the American logistics pipeline. The dramatic drop in Iranian drone launches could mean Tehran has recognized that its drone swarm strategy has been neutralized, alongside the ongoing destruction of launch sites by American airstrikes. The same principle applies to fast attack boats. According to the New York Times, Iran struck at least 16 commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz by March 12th. With Warthogs patrolling the Gulf and the Strait, those tactics become dramatically harder to execute. Mavericks engage fast boats at distance. APKWS rockets neutralize drone swarms. The Gatling gun shreds unmanned surface vessels before they reach their targets. The strategic sequence becomes clear. Phase 1. A-10s provide persistent cover for mine-clearing vessels, neutralizing drones and fast boats Iran deploys to interfere. Phase 2, once mines are cleared, Warthogs escort commercial shipping through the strait, answering any Iranian harassment immediately. Phase 3, Iran loses its last meaningful piece of economic leverage. The strait reopens. Iran's strategic position collapses further. But beyond the operational mechanics, the most significant dimension of the Warthog's deployment may be the message it sends. Putting A-10s over Iran is a deliberate strategic signal. It tells Tehran that the U.S. is conducting a layered aerial campaign drawing on the full depth of its aviation arsenal, and that Iran's air defenses have been so comprehensively shattered that a slow, non-stealthy, decades-old attack aircraft can now operate freely over Iranian territory. That message is devastating in its implications. President Trump made the stakes clear on March 13th, stating publicly that Iran would be hit very hard in the coming week. Secretary Hegseth confirmed more than 15,000 enemy targets had already been struck. With the Warthog now operational in theater, that list grows. Ground installations, naval assets, drone facilities, logistics infrastructure. All of it within sustained reach of an aircraft that can loiter overhead for hours, waiting for the right moment to strike. The A-10 is old. Its lineage traces to the Cold War, when NATO needed something that could stop Soviet armor. The U.S. military has tried to retire it multiple times, arguing modern stealth platforms made it obsolete. Those arguments have been proven wrong repeatedly in every real combat environment the Warthog has entered. Persistence and versatility matter more than speed in complex operating environments. Iran hoped it would never see an A-10 over its territory. That hope is gone. Before Operation Epic Fury, a full-scale U.S.-Iran confrontation was seen as a potential trigger for regional or global war. Iran's collapse in the face of American air power has fundamentally changed that calculus. But the instability that produced this conflict has not left the world. There are 5 active flashpoints analysts believe carry genuine risk of escalating into global war in 2026, and we will be covering all of them in depth on this channel in the days ahead. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of the A-10 Warthog and the role it is playing in Operation Epic Fury, and if this channel delivers the kind of military and geopolitical analysis you want to keep coming back to, then go ahead and subscribe right now. That is how you make sure you never miss a story like this one. Every subscriber matters here on Richard Hale, and this community is genuinely worth being part of. And before you move on, leave your answers to today's 2 questions in the comments. First, is the A-10 Warthog still one of the most strategically relevant attack aircraft in the world today, or has the time finally come to let it retire? Second, if U.S. ground forces enter Iran, would the Warthog be the single most important close air support asset on that battlefield? 2 questions, your honest answers. The comments are open. I read every single comment on this channel. The conversations this community generates are some of the best military analysis you will find on this platform. Get in there. This has been Richard Hale. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one.